Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be discussing my top 5 free-to-play characters in Honkai Star Rail. What this means is we're going to be going over all of the 4-star options mainly. We're going to leave out all 5 stars besides the Trailblazer and discuss which ones we think are the top 5 to play in-game right now and which ones are going to define the meta in the future. I've been playing this game for about the past 2 days. For a long time. I am up all the way to Trailblazer level 20. I've been trying out some of these free-to-play characters, and honestly, a lot of them aren't that bad. When we look at some of our 4-star options, like for example, Pela or Serval or March 7th, a lot of them actually outclass some of the 5-star options we have. Not all of them do, some of them are worse than others, but today I'm going to give you guys the full rundown on what characters you need to build in order to become the ultimate Trailblazer. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Coming in at number 5, we are going to have March 7th. She is really your only defensive option unless you got Gepard on your first couple pulls on the standard banner. And right now, those two are the only two we have that are going to be following the preservation path. If you guys don't know, the preservation path is the only path that has defensive abilities and to protect allies. And so far, our only 2 characters that are going to follow preservation path right now are going to be March 7th. Later in the game, Trailblazer does get the ability to follow the preservation path, but I do not believe that Trailblazer is as good as March 7th is. March 7th has a variety of abilities. Just to go over a couple quickly, her basic attack is a normal basic attack. She deals ice damage equal to 50% of her attack. Her skill provides a single ally with a shield that can absorb up to 38% of March 7th defense, plus 190 for 3 turns. And if the ally's HP is above 30%, that ally also draws aggro. So that means the enemy is going to be attacking your character with the shield more often, which is usually a positive thing. Another great ability that she has is her innate talent, which gives her the ability to counterattack any time your character with a shield is being attacked. So not only is your character drawing aggro with their shield, she's also doing counterattack every time that character gets hit on the shield. Her technique immediately attacks upon entering battle and has an 100% chance to freeze an enemy, which delays their attack for 1 turn, and for 1 turn they'll be completely frozen, giving you a whole round of attacks that you can do before the enemy unfreezes. The ice element is one of the best in the entire game in terms of immobilizing enemies. When you immobilize an enemy, that makes their whole turn void and allows you to get off some extra attacks to maybe more quickly break their shield and get off some large scale damage of your own. If you do not get Gepard, I strongly recommend that you add March 7th to your team. I can see her getting outclassed in the future by other characters, but you know what? She's the starting character. She's going to be with you for your entire journey. Not only does she look awesome, sound awesome, and it's just a very charismatic, fun character, but she is also very capable in battle. And that's why March 7th is number 5. Coming in at number 4, we have Natasha. Natasha is, again, similar to March 7th, she is the only healer that you're even capable of getting unless you got Bailu on the standard banner on your first 50 pulls. If you didn't get Bailu, this is your only other option, and having a healer is very important because it's not similar to Genshin Impact. You cannot use food in battle, so if you do not have healing, well, you may be in for a rough time. Natasha doesn't purely heal though, she does have other capabilities. Her basic attack is a simple basic attack. It just deals physical damage. And honestly, I find so far in the early stages of the game that there's a lot of enemies that are weak to physical attacks. So having a physical unit on your team can be very important. Her skill is a pretty simple healing skill. It restores a single ally's HP for 7.8% of Natasha's max HP plus 143. And then it heals an additional 5.4% plus 98 at the beginning of each turn for 2 consecutive turns. Providing a lot of healing is going to be Natasha's main point. She's not going to be one of your damage dealers. I would say trying to use Natasha in teams with shielders may prove kind of counterproductive. I'd recommend only having 1 healer or 1 shielder on your team, not both, unless you're really struggling with the game. So if you're using Natasha, I wouldn't recommend pairing her with March 7th maybe pairing Natasha with some other damage dealers, which we'll discuss more later, would be a more viable option. Moving on to her ultimate is just going to heal all allies for 9.2%. So instead of a single heal, she is now going to heal the entire field. Her talent is just going to increase her outgoing healing by 25%, healing even more on some of your allies, although generally you'll probably want to keep Natasha at high HP, so to be completely honest, her talent, slightly useless. Her technique, however, is not. Whenever she enters battle, she's going to immediately deal physical damage equal to 80% of Natasha's attack to a random enemy with a 100% base chance to weaken all enemies. While weakened, enemies deal 30% less damage for 1 turn, although I would like this to increase turns. Just having 1 turn where they're not doing as much damage as you can allow you to set up a little more. If you have a buffer or you have a debuffer, give you a turn to set up and then get into your attack motion before that enemy can really have an opportunity to do big damage to you. If you did not pull Bailu, who is definitely a better option than Natasha, I would recommend using this character on your team strongly if you are struggling with content in the game, as she will keep your team alive for a long time to come. Will she get outscaled eventually? Probably. I mean, to be completely honest, just purely healing has never been great. She's kind of comparable to Barbara in Genshin Impact. All she can really do is heal, and weaken enemies is nice, but it's not the most critically important thing. However, it still ranks her to be crucial enough and important enough to most teams in this early stage of the game. Let's move on to number 3. Next up, coming in at number 3, we're going to have Asta. Now, Asta is a character you get for free at the very start of the game, or close to the start. You're going to get her once you complete that first main mission. She is from the Harmony path, which allows her to apply buffs to all of her allies. If you guys don't know, the Harmony path is one of the best ones in the entire game. There is one character who outclasses her in the Harmony path, which we will get to later. However, just this path alone is enough to put her in A tier, maybe even S tier, as applying buffs gives so much benefit to the rest of your team. Her basic attack is going to be a basic fire damage attack to a single target. Next up, we're going to talk about her skill, Meteor Bounce. This essentially is going to deal fire damage to 25% of Asta's attack. And it's also going to deal damage for 4 extra times, with each time dealing fire damage equal to 25% of Asta's attack to a random enemy. A pretty simple skill. It doesn't really apply with her Harmony path. It doesn't give any buffs or anything, but it's still a very hard-hitting pyro hit. And also burning is another great effect. Not as great as Frozen, I think, but it's going to deal damage for longer amounts of time. And I've also noticed that fire is a really hard element to come by in this game. Most of the free characters you get, like Dong Hung, Herta, Ching Chi, Natasha, and Serval, none of which are fire. Her technique, which is going to be when initiating battle, is going to deal fire damage equal to 50% of Asta's attack to all enemies. Basically just a big AoE hit, nothing too much to see there. Her ultimate, however, is going to increase the speed of all your allies for 36 for 2 turns. Now this is gigantic. When you increase your speed, you are increasing your placement in the turn order, giving you more turns than your enemy, allowing you to get more momentum, get more damage off, get more buffs. A lot can happen here, and this can start stacking really fast to where your enemy, he can't even attack you because you're attacking too fast with all of your speed from the Asta ultimate. Her talent. To sum this ability up in just a couple words, essentially what it does, for every enemy you hit with a fire weakness, she's going to get a stack of charge, which these stacks actually increase party's attack by 7%. And this can happen up to 5 times. So if you're dealing crazy damage to the entire field, everybody has a fire weakness, you get 5 stacks of this, 7 times 5, 35% damage bonus is going to be astronomical when you're able to defeat enemies that fast. She has a good element, she has a good path, she has some great abilities. Overall, she's going to be a huge addition to any team you want to put her on. Without further ado, let's get into number 2. At number 2, we're going to have Pela, I don't remember. Unfortunately, this character is not completely considered free to play. In order to get Pela, you would have to either get her from the Stellar Wart banner, or you would have to get her on this limited banner. She is a 4-star on this Sela banner, so you do have a chance to get her here, which I strongly recommend doing. Even if you're not pulling for Sela, getting this 4-star is absolutely crucial to defeating enemies in this game. Pela is from the Nihility path, which is the path that allows you to apply debuffs to enemies, kind of contradictory to what Asta does. But debuffs, I would actually say, are the slightest bit weaker than buffs. You would rather buff your own units than debuff the enemies, because the debuffs fade faster than buffs do. However, if the debuffs are strong enough, you don't even have to worry about it. She is one of the best debuffers in the game. There's the other option of Sampo, who's just not as good. And the other option is Welt, who is really, really good. But unfortunately, he's one of those limited 5-star characters who you can only really get by getting lucky. But we have an alternative now. We have Pela. She is an ice type user, another really good ice types. We like ice types in this game. They are very, very strong. The ability to freeze, as we've already talked about previously, is very, very crucial. Her skills. Base attack is just a simple ice damage attack. Her skill is going to remove buffs from enemies if they apply buffs to themselves, and also deal ice damage equal to 150 of Pela's attack. Now this is a really important one, and one that I find comes in handy a lot. There's going to be a lot of bosses you fight in this game that are going to imply a lot of buffs to themselves. They're going to add attack buffs and speed buffs and defense buffs, and you're just able to get rid of all of those with a simple skill. Just completely get rid of all those buffs, and now they're back to square one, and they can't do as much damage as they might have previously. Especially when you don't have things like a healer or a shielder on your team, this ability becomes a lot more handy. Her ultimate is going to deal ice damage equal to 64% of Pela's attack to all enemies on the field, with a 100% base chance to inflict exposed enemies on the field with defense minus 31% for 2 turns. What it means by saying exposed is they do not have their shield / their break up. When you break them and that shield evaporates, then you use this ability and you attack them, and you can reduce their defense by 31%, allowing you to do even higher attacks, especially if you pair Pela with a buffer, like for example Asta, who we just talked about. You're going to get those debuffs off, then you're going to get your own buffs, and you're going to be able to do absolutely crazy damage on the enemy. Next up, her technique immediately attacks the enemy upon entering the battle. Pela deals ice damage equal to 80% of her attack to a random enemy, with a 100% base chance to lower the defense of all enemies by 20% 2 turns. So not only does her ultimate decrease defense, but her technique does as well. Anytime you enter battle using her technique, she's going to immediately lower every single enemy on the field defense by 20%, allowing you to get some big hits off and sometimes end the battle before it even begins. This ability is one of the best in the entire game, in my opinion, in terms of entering the battle with it. It's going to do a lot for your team. Lastly, her talent. If the enemy is debuffed after Pela's attack, Pela will restore 5.5 extra energy, allowing her to regain energy even faster to get that burst back up, and then you can debuff them over and over again. I mean, what's not to like about this character? Not only is she an ice type, a freezer, she is also a debuffer, has a great ultimate, one of the best techniques in the entire game, and is going to allow you to do much more damage with your big AoE hitting units. Without further ado, let's find out what the best free-to-play character is in the entire game. For our number 1 pick, we are going to go with Tingyun. Now, I actually don't have this character on my own account, so I've had to go to a whole different website to find her. The gameplay you probably see up on screen right now is from a different recording, which I'll put a link to for copyright purposes. But this character is without a doubt the best 4-star in the entire game. I think it's just kind of universally agreed that this character is the number 1 pick for best 4-star / free-to-play character in the entire game. She is the second character we're going to talk about that comes from the Harmony path, which is another buff path. She is of the electric variant in this game, which I don't think is one of the better ones, but it's still decent enough. It's going to deal residual damage like the Pyro one is going to as well. Her basic attack is going to deal lightning damage equal to 50% of Tingyun's attack. Pretty simple stuff there. Her skill, however, is going to increase the attack of a single ally by 25% up to no greater than 15% of Tingyun's current attack and blesses the ally. The blessed ally deals additional lightning damage equal to 20% of their attack when hitting enemies for 3 turns. Blessed is only effective on the most recent receiver of Tingyun's skill, meaning that you can only use this on one enemy at a time, but it's another one of those skills that are going to give huge attack buffs, similar to how Asta's work. I do think this one is a smidge weaker than how Asta's works, but the thing is about this one is that it's a skill instead of a ultimate, so you can have a constant 15% attack buff always up, which is going to be gigantic. Instead of like an ultimate where you have it up sometimes, you don't have it up other times. No, you always have Tingyun's ability up. Her ultimate is another pretty simple one. She's going to regenerate 50 energy for a target ally and increase the target's damage by 30% for 3 turns. Now this and the skill as well have been nerfed like 20 times since the beta test, trying to make this character weaker. But even with that, this ultimate is still incredibly crazy. You just give a character a free ultimate. Not only that, but you also increase their damage by 20% for a free 3 turns. And this stacks with her skill as well. So you can give them a 15% attack buff into a 20% attack buff plus their ultimate. It's just crazy damage all the time with her. Her talent, upon hitting an enemy, Tingyun is going to deal extra lightning damage equal to 30% of the base attack of the blessed character. This one isn't too crazy. It's a pretty simple innate talent. It's not going to apply any buffs or anything else. It's just another big damage deal. Her technique, however, is going to immediately regenerate 50 energy upon using it. So anytime she enters the battle using her technique, she's going to immediately get that big burst up and get those huge attack buffs. This character is the second best Harmony character in the entire game, behind only Bronya, who is another 5-star limited character, which you'd have to get lucky to get. She isn't necessarily free to play, but if you are lucky enough to get her, I strongly recommend putting her on any team you want to use. She's going to provide huge value for your entire team. And with that, that is going to be the end of our video for today. If you guys enjoyed this one and you want to see more Honkai Star Rail content in the future, make sure to let me know in the comments below. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.